Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's show. Sorry for taking a couple of weeks off. I had some things going on. And welcome back to Skill Building Monday. It is Monday, June 3rd. It is noon. And I am your host for today, Jason Leeser. And before we get started, I wanted to say a very special thank you and mention out there to for a couple of things. The first being today is my girlfriend Kate's birthday. Happy birthday. Next, I wanted to thank everyone over at the Marine Corps. I believe that's MC MCAS Cherry Point, Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. Very special thank you to Gunnery Sergeant Edward Smith, who just retired this past weekend. He's a very dear friend of mine. I've known him for most of my life. He's helped me through a lot of things and couldn't be more proud of you. Would also like to say a very special thank you to Gunnery Sergeant Peoples. Don't worry, I won't carry the team next time in cornhole, so don't worry about that. Just takes a little pressure off of you for next time. But thank you to everyone that was out there and all of the Marines I got to interact with. And moving forward, welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We stream out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at www.reinventingthetattoo.com, where you can try it out for free. You do not have to subscribe right away. We have three different options for you to pick from to try it out. The first option is a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, where you get to go through and take a quick little glimpse into what we have to offer. The second option is to get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals, what you might want to work on, what you could possibly do to improve. And that is a great option if the other two options don't really kind of appeal to you. The third option, which is my favorite option, which I found to be really, really interesting, was you can take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. If you are a tattoo history nerd, such as I am, this is absolutely spectacular and I highly recommend it. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details, where you can go through and join shows such as this. All available in a calendar, so it's all nicely laid out for you. All you have to do is click on the event, find the link, click on the link, and it will take you to the live stream page. You can also find the Reinventing 24/7 channel at www.reinventingthetattoo.com, where you can find 13 different episodes playing at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also offer a whole host of professional development courses from over 20 world class tattoo artists. You can also find Reinventing the Tattoo in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which, just like our Reinventing 24/7 channel, has 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all Roku enabled devices, which is pretty awesome. You can also find us at our podcast, which is available through both Apple and Spotify and all of the major podcast directories. Or you can do what most people do and just open your browser and do a quick search for Reinventing the Tattoo. And you'll find it all. It'll all pop up, except for the book, which is currently out of print. So you will not be able to get a copy of the book because they are no longer made or sold. Sorry. I know, I've been trying to get a copy myself. Trust me, I know that pain. Once again, if this is working for you, please drop us a comment in the chat. Please hit that like button and subscribe button. Make sure to keep up to date with all of the latest shows. This way, you don't miss out on any episodes or any information that you might find valuable. And please tag a friend who loves tattoos. Maybe it's someone who's just trying to get into the field. Maybe it's someone that's been in it for a while that's feeling kind of stagnant. Tag everyone you know. Everyone loves tattoos these days. Tag them all. Why not? We have a number of weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into, starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m. with Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we get to go through and discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies, help us get back to our roots of being a fine artist in this tattoo world today. It's phenomenal. I try to jump on as often as I can. Today's episode was on atmospheric perspective, which can really make or break a tattoo and can really help you emphasize background and put emphasis on different subjects. That all was covered today earlier at 9 a.m. Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. Following that on Mondays at noon, you have this show, which is the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group with me, Jason Leeser, where we get to go through and discuss different skills that we try to build up, things that we may need to work on. Maybe it's something that we know we probably need to improve upon, but we don't really know how. But it covers all aspects of skills that we will use every day in the tattoo industry. Once again, that is at noon, Skill Building Mondays with me, Jason Leeser. Following that at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network, which is absolutely phenomenal. And for that, you will need to have a subscription, whether it's the Monday night subscription alone, or maybe it's the Reinventing Evolution course, or maybe it's the full Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscription. Both have different things that they cover and different areas that you can access through the Reinventing the Tattoo website. I can tell you from personal experience alone that by just doing the Monday evening drawing groups, your skills will improve. It doesn't seem like it's really that much, but it's going to teach you a lot of things that maybe you don't pick up on. It's going to teach you how to be more efficient at drawing. It's going to teach you how to go through, really focus on whatever the topic is that week. And it's going to be really beneficial for you. I did it for about 2 years straight. And if you look at the work I was doing when I first started and you look at the work I'm doing now, there is a monumental difference in not only the quality of work I'm putting out, but the types of designs that I'm putting out as well. So please take a look at that. That is 9 p.m. Monday evenings, a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew. Following that on Tuesdays at 11 a.m., we have the Tattoo Weekly Show with Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, and Jake Meeks from the Fireside Tattoo Network. And that will go through and cover all recent events, any new legislation that may be passed, anything that might impact the industry as a whole. You can find all of the most relevant news and information on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. That is the Tattoo Weekly Show with Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, and Jake Meeks. And sometimes I think Fawn Baker jumps in there too. Could be wrong, but yeah, it's always a great time. Very informational. Following that on Wednesdays at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley. And in that show, we get to go through and do a deeper dive into the business aspect behind tattooing. Maybe it's talking about travel visas or client retention, client outreach, streamlining your booking process, all of that and a lot more. That's all discussed during the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, Wednesdays at noon. And capping off the week, we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast with Fawn Baker. That's always a great end to the week where we all get to go through. It's kind of like sitting around a campfire. We get to swap stories and talk about stuff, dealing with our collection of tattoos and what we might have learned along the way. We do have a special event coming up, and let me grab those dates for you right now. We just got done with the Hell City Tattoo Convention, and that was in Columbus, Ohio. I will also be out at the Hell City Tattoo Convention, and that is in Phoenix, and that is going to be August 23rd through 25th. I will be in Phoenix, Arizona at the Arizona Baltimore Hotel for the Hell City Phoenix, Arizona Tattoo Show. And that is coming up again August 23rd through 25th. Following that, Reinventing the Tattoo will be live October 24th through 27th in Jiminy Peak, Massachusetts at the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. It is one of my favorite events every year. And I can tell you absolutely right now, we have got more incredible artists lined up to present this year than I think I've ever seen at a Paradise Gathering. Um, I mean, I'm not really going to go into the specifics, but when the list gets announced, trust me, it's going to be incredible. Um, we've got people flying out from different countries. We've got, people that are legends in this industry that will be there teaching seminars. Some people I really look up to, as well as a lot of people that are really influential in this industry. Once again, I can't really give away any names right now because we haven't announced the official list, but don't be surprised if over the next few weeks I kind of let a few names slip. So please stay tuned. Would like to go through and thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that make these shows happen. Starting off with worldtattooevents.com. Oops, and my screen just went black. That's no good. Give me 1 second to get that back up and going. No. There we go. Much better. Starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything updated. As we know, living in this post pandemic era, tattoo events and conventions are still getting rescheduled like crazy. So, if you're looking for the latest, most up to date tattoo event or convention information coming to a city or town near you, maybe it's one you plan on visiting. That's how I book all my vacations. Take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to thank tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They are constantly keeping everything updated and upgraded. They are 100% competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you're really looking for the digital tools to help you streamline your booking process or get more clients through the door that really want to get the kind of work that you really want to do, take a look at tattoonow.com. They've been doing this for well over 20 years, and these are the people that know how to make that stuff happen. Would also like to go through and thank Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his tutorial DVDs. I believe he might still have a couple of custom coil machines for sale, as well as countless fine art prints and the occasional oil painting, all for sale at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to go through and say a very quick and special thank you and shout out to Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries, one of my favorite resources for tattoo apprenticeship information. So, if you are a tattoo apprentice or an apprentice hopeful, and you are looking for more information on what makes for a good apprenticeship, or if you are looking, just exploring the idea of getting a tattoo apprenticeship, take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. You will not be disappointed with the volume of information that is in there. Whew, a lot to say. We ask that if you like today's show, please post a positive review on the channel, help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event or become a sponsor of our community, maybe you're just looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email us at management@reinventingthetattoo.com and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Ooh, these openings are pretty long-winded. Gotta love it. Today we will be going through and talking about, oh, Andre Malcolm. What's going on, man? Thank you. Andre Malcolm. Once again, can't really drop names just yet as to who will be attending Paradise, but rumor has it Andre Malcolm will be there this year and he will be teaching a bodysuit seminar, which is going to be pretty epic. So once again, can't confirm or deny that, but that is rumor going around the rumor mill. May be happening. Who knows? Um, but yeah, thanks, Andre. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I wanted to go through and touch on a topic that I don't think is really addressed all that often, and that is communication. Um, Through hanging out with a whole bunch of Marines this past weekend at the Marine Corps base that I was at for my best friend's graduation, I got to, pick up on a couple of finer points and a couple of finer things. They are really good at communication, like really, really good at it, but they're good at it to the point that they're not necessarily abrasive with it. They're just really effective about putting down boundaries and, being very clear and effective with their communication. It's something I myself have been working on getting better at, because I don't like to be mean to people. And sometimes when you're setting boundaries and when you're communicating effectively, it can seem almost like you're being mean, but that is not the way that it is usually perceived. For example, if a client reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I saw this thing online and I really wanted to get this tattoo," I will be very straightforward with them and tell them, "Listen, I will be happy to do a tattoo for you. I will be happy to use that picture as inspiration, but I will not do that tattoo on you. That is not right. That artist put in a lot of time to create that specific image for that specific person. If you are looking to get that exact tattoo done, I am not the guy for you. I'm sorry." But what I will do is I will use that as inspiration and I will ask you a lot of questions about what draws you to it. Why do you like that image? Do you like the placement? Do you like the imagery? Do you like the way it was done? Do you like the color scheme or the, how much value and how much, shading is in there? What is it that really draws you to that image? And from there, we'll continue a discussion. But I'm very firm when I say, "I'm sorry, I will not replicate that tattoo on you. That is not something that I'm comfortable doing because that was designed by someone else for someone else, and that was not designed specifically for you. And if you were that person, then you would already have the tattoo. So, it would be kind of pointless." Um, so I'm always trying to be a lot better at effective communication as far as that is concerned. So it's just one thing that, was, that I picked up on while I was there. And I wanted to thank all of the Marines down at Cherry Point for enlightening me to that. There were obviously some shenanigans that ensued because, Marine Corps bases and civilians and shenanigans, it all goes pretty well together. It was a good time. Um, so, what I am going to be working on today, and hopefully I can tie into some of what James Wisdom was working on earlier today, is a bodysuit that I'm currently laying out for one of my clients. And let me bring the iPad over, or the great pad of eye, as I like to refer to it. And we can set this up. Let's do. There we go. Yay. And we'll turn on picture in picture. Cool. Wonderful. So I don't know how clearly anyone can see it, but I do have a photo that I took of said person's back. Um, so that I had ideas because they do have a couple of existing tattoos up in the corners. I know picture in picture is covering one of them. So you have a bit of a tattoo over here on the left, And then you have this navy emblem over here on the right. So I kind of have to work this dragon back piece around those. So I'm going to be playing with layouts, and I always like to do a couple of, just some like rough concepts. I already have two rough concepts done for different types of position, placement, how I want it to look, how I want it to wrap. I would like to throw in some atmospheric perspective in there just to go through and create more of a scene. But let's play around, and I'll go through and I'll show you kind of what I have so far. So this was one kind of concept for the body and the head. If I was going to develop this more, I'd put some arms in here. Maybe I would have, let's do sketching, sketch. There we go. So if I was going to go through and develop this more, I would definitely do, something like a shoulder, probably cock the arm back a bit with like forearm coming down, something like that. Something a bit more neutral. I don't want it to be overly aggressive. And the other hand you'd probably see like a little peak of it back here, almost more of a traditional kind of hand pose behind the head. Um, I would have room for some legs if I wanted to throw some legs in here, throw like a hip, you know, part of the thigh, and then I'd have, the back portion of the leg coming down here. I could easily do the other one kind of out here. Boom. And then, something like that, kind of coming down a bit further if need be. Once again, it's a concept. Not quite sure what they had in mind as far as a dragon, but these are definitely things to play with and discuss with the client in advance of their appointment. This is another concept. I wanted this one kind of flying up a little bit more. So for this one, if I was going to do, uh, some arms in here, I'd probably bring one across and up. This one I might have, if my shoulder's there, I'd come here, maybe bend this way, almost like it's, crossing its arms. Um, and then this arm would come down. Obviously, I'd change hand placement a little bit based on anatomy, but, we could do something along these lines. If we wanted to do legs, we could do a leg here, coming down, back up and down. And then this one, we could kind of bring over and then back down this way. But we would really want to try to emphasize the fact that it is flying upwards. So we want to try to make sure that we've got as much movement moving in this direction to move the eye in that direction as humanly possible. So once again, that's a second concept. This is just a third concept. Typically, what I like to do with clients that want to get bigger pieces is I'll present them with three different options and say, hey, these are some ideas I was thinking of. Let me know what you think. If you like them, great. If not, that's cool too. Like I can come up with a couple other ones. But usually for people that get bigger pieces that I know are going to take quite a long time, I will be happy to go through and do a couple of different concepts, sketches or drafts, things that I throw together, just to give them an idea of what can be done because they're going to be coming in multiple times and they will be going through and spending quite a bit of money on this tattoo. So I want to make sure that they get their money's worth. Playing around with different body poses and shapes, always gives me, a nicer kind of feeling about how do I want this dragon to move. And I know from experience, I would want this to kind of zigzag across the back. Uh, just really kind of maximizing my use of diagonal lines to create motion, flow, and movement. So you won't really see me do anything like, you know, curling. You won't see me doing any smooth curls. Smooth curls do work in certain areas, but when you're looking at something that's flying and moving in a dynamic manner, it's not really going to have a smooth spiral unless it's fading towards the back, or it's moving in almost like a cylindrical, like spiral movement. I've always preferred more of like a jagged movement to show like an immediate change in direction. To me, it just gives it a more natural kind of feel. But depending on what we have to work around, like I would not go for a composition like this. And there's a reason why, because we're sketching, and then we'll do this. So the reason why I try not to go for compositions like this is because you've got too much static here, and this is too straight, right? So there's not enough motion going on to really bring your eye up uh, and move your eye with the rest of the piece. So now there are a few exceptions. Maybe I'll come down here and I'll bring it back up. And then I'll bring that over. So now I've got more of a diagonal space here. And that's mirrored. You can almost see a continuation of this coming down. So, and that's moving all the way across the back, bringing your eye up that way. The downside to this is that it does create a lot of dead space here. Even though this does come back up to provide counterflow, this straight portion over here, even though it is kind of an S shape, it just looks awkward and unbalanced. So I always try to keep it a little bit more on the simple side, and really just try to accent, some type of a very nice diagonal line. Even something like that would be a little bit better if they were adamant about not taking up too much room. Anything that really travels across the body, starting out down here, almost wrapping around this side of the hip, is going to be ideal, because you're really maximizing the move and the flow of the body with the actual human body that you will be tattooing. Even if it trails off into nothingness, that's fine. Um, I often have been given the critique that I try to cram too much into one area. So what I've found is that by maximizing everything, blowing things up a lot bigger, and then cropping the image, you really get a lot more detail in there, and you really get a lot of a better composition when composing larger pieces. It's just some of the feedback that I've gotten from other artists over the years. So that's constantly what I'm trying to do, is create, more dynamic, flowing compositions. Because as a great artist once said, you can have the best tattoo in the world, but if it's not placed right and it doesn't have good body composition, it's going to look like crap no matter what you do. Even something like that could work well. Maybe I'll keep the neck thinner, just kind of have the body trail off. This would give me plenty of room for an arm. So if I wanted to do an arm, I could very easily do one here Um, Even though part of it may be hidden, we could do an arm here, kind of reaching down. Maybe do another arm here, kind of reaching up. I could always move that around and do arms over here instead. I always like to stick arms where the body really creates a sharp turn. Um, just because to me, it's almost like having that shoulder area, the neck on the body, the shoulders being a pivot point, the hips being a pivot point, and then everything kind of flowing naturally with the rest of it. So if I was going to move the arms up here, I could very easily bring one down here or down this direction. This other one would kind of be cocked back a little bit. Maybe you'd have a couple of fingers or something. Maybe we would do it up here and you'd start to see like a couple of little like fingers up here. If we wanted to go more of a traditional route with it. Um, I've been trying to really play around with a lot of perspective lately, so I've really been trying to emphasize that. Do, do, do. There we go. Ideally, what I would like to do with this composition, based on the client and how much room they're trying to take up, how big they want to go with it. If they want a full back piece, then full coverage, full area, maybe some wispy clouds in the background. I'd definitely blow the head up a little bit bigger. Now we've got some nice diagonal lines, but we're still maximizing our real estate. By no means am I, an expert on drawing Japanese dragons or Japanese inspired dragons. For that, you would want to get in touch with Bill Canales out in San Diego. He is a master at it and he is absolutely awesome. I look at his work all the time. Maybe you want to reach out to the Tex family and see what their concepts are. Um, but I'm always constantly striving to do better and be better and push myself to, you know, try to be better, even at just composition, even at just like coming up with concepts. You know, this could work well. If you look at the body kind of as like traveling upwards, that could work. Maybe I'd do, a hand down below, maybe over in, let's see, quick menu. If I was going to go for something like this, I'd probably use my shoulder point here. That should give me some pretty good dynamic composition. Maybe I'd move it in a bit further and have it back and crop it a little bit more. You never really know. It's something that, once again, play around with it. Really trying to create the illusion of like this dragon moving backwards in space. So if I start with a bigger body and then taper it off as it moves, it's going to create the illusion of moving backwards, then coming forwards again. So you can really play around with perspective all you want. It's something I love to try to do more of. Maybe I want the dragon's head to be a bit more of a diagonal composition, which I think would really lend itself well to what it is I'm trying to achieve. Instead of just doing basic S turns, get sharp with it. Do some very sharp like Z turns. It's going to give you a more dynamic flow because it's all diagonal lines. Even something like that could work. It's a bit tight up at the top, but it does have the ability to work well. Maybe I'll make the body a little smaller, coming down. That could work well. It would give me a lot of nice overlapping areas of the dragon's body moving in space. I think though I'm going to try to space it out a little bit more and only do like one or two sharp turns. I know that there's a formula that if I forget the artist's name, Kevin Stress. Um, Kevin Stress is a great guy. He wrote a book many years ago called The Year of the Snake. And in that, he describes his formula for creating dynamic snake compositions. And if you can draw the body of a snake, you can draw the body of a dragon. Scales are a little bit different. I get it. They have arms, dragons have arms and legs. But body composition and creating a dynamic body for a dragon is going to be the exact same as if you would as if you would draw a snake. That's why if anyone out there is looking at the brushes I'm using, I'm actually using the snake kit from Tattoo Smart. Um, and it is phenomenal when coming up with different types of bodies and body compositions. These are all wireframes that come with the snake kit. I use these to lay out all the snakes and all the dragons I do. It's definitely kind of a cheating way to do it because unless you can draw it by hand, you shouldn't really be using a repeating brush for it. The thing is, I've drawn dragons before by hand. I know I can do that. So for me, this is just kind of cutting out a few hours worth of sketching and a lot of layers of tracing paper. Um, but if I wanted to go with more of like a whimsical kind of look, I could keep the body a little bit thinner, give it some nice thin arms and legs. I think I want to go with like a bigger body, but really kind of show some dynamic sizing and perspective with it. Once again, I keep going back to this very static composition. So I'm trying to get rid of that and trying to really create more of a dynamic pose. Sometimes you just got to play with it, and sometimes you just got to just keep sketching, keep drawing, and you will get it. And you will come up with a composition that you're happy with. But it takes time sometimes, and it takes sometimes more time than we would like to admit. But that's the way that we practice. We figure out what works that way through muscle memory, and muscle memory is key. By drawing 1,000 different dragons, you're going to become absolutely incredible at drawing dragons. That's the name of the game. I love coffee. Um, maybe I want to take this one in a different direction. Something like that could work well. Where we've got a very sharp turn up here with the neck. This would allow us to go through and maybe do some arms here. And then we could have another arm on the opposite side. Maybe we would have a hip here. That with one leg extending down on the glute. We would have another one kind of tucked back with like maybe a claw or two. So that we could really give it the concept that it's flying upwards. Now we'd have to shorten this arm a bit, but that's fine because the arm I drew is probably way too long anyway. Utilizing perspective and the rule of foreshortening. Maybe we could have the hand be bigger, more like it's coming towards us. That would increase the perspective there. This hand, maybe we want this one to kind of turn away or be more towards the background. So we would make this one a bit smaller. And if I wanted to go through and create some atmospheric perspective, I'd do like a rough kind of scribble sketch to get some volume in here for the arms. Tricep, bicep, elbow, forearm. This would be tricep, bicep, elbow, forearm. Maybe we want him with like his hands spread out more. That could work well. Oh, thanks, Creature. I just saw your comments. Thank you very much. Maybe we want to have. You know what? Let's draw this arm in a different way. We're gonna make this arm almost like it's turned back. So we're gonna try to draw that. Once again, we would have bicep, tricep, elbow, and then this would be the forearm. If we wanted this arm to be heading backwards, and then we'd have like 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger. This one would probably be a bit sharper, but we could do something like that. That could be cool. Maybe we want to take it even more different and be more unique, right? And instead of having this arm come this direction, let's have it move backwards, right? So just about everything would be hidden except for the forearm and then the claws. Now he's got one arm stretched back, and he's got one arm kind of coming towards you, so I mean that would create more of a dynamic pose and be different. Um, there's all different ways. Once you really start to understand the concept that whatever area of the body you're working with, it's not a flat surface, it's a window into a three-dimensional world. You can push things back and you can pull things forward in that infinite space of that window. Imagine that window is looking out into the universe, right? Things can be right up next to the glass, or they can be way out in space, way out in space, right? Once you understand that your depth that you can create is limitless, absolutely limitless, you start to really understand the concept of utilizing that space a bit more and really making things dynamic as far as the amount of perspective that you're giving it. And that's kind of what was brought up to me not too long ago. Remember talking to an artist, someone that I really admire, and they were like, "Yeah, your stuff's cool, but like, there's no like, even if it was rendered perfectly." Because I showed him a few pictures that I, really tried to utilize some like atmosphere and some depth tricks. They were like, "Yeah, but it's still kind of flat. It's still all on one plane of existence." They're like, "You have infinite space behind that. Why not make it way deeper than it currently is?" And it blew my mind, right? I was like, "Whoa." Like this dude is operating on a whole new level. Um and so ever since then I've really been trying to play with that a little bit more to really kind of maximize the amount of depth that I put into things. Um, I'm just really trying to maximize the amount of visual space I can create. If I did want this arm to come this direction, I'd make this a little shorter. Maybe have this guy Maybe we'll have them holding something like a ball, like a glowing ball. These are all just kind of concepts, conceptual drawings, conceptual things, different directions that I can take things. By no means am I going to go with any of these, but they are concepts that I can utilize to pitch to my client to say, hey, what do you think of this? Oh, not a fan of that. Cool. What about this one? Do you like that one more? Okay, cool. Now I've got a better idea of the direction that I want to head in. I'll create like a rough image and then I'll move on to the next one. This way I can help narrow down all of the different concepts that maybe I'm playing with. Um, maybe they don't want the dragon flying up. Okay, well, then we can rotate the head as I've done before, and we can make it flying, to the left or to the right or down. If they don't like the perspective of the head, I can draw a different head. I've got tons of them that are all different, already set, drawn, and ready to go. All I have to do is copy them from another document, paste them into here, and then start drawing the body to go with it. I like to do a lot of preparatory drawing. So a lot of, um, I sat down for a few hours, a couple days ago or whatever, and literally just started sketching dragon heads. Um, each one of these groups is a different dragon head that I've sketched out. You know, Here's one. Here's one that's I could use as like a little bit more, looking a little bit more downward, or I could rotate it and now it's flying up a little bit more, but the head itself is at a different perspective. I didn't go with this head because I thought it was a little too aggressive. Here's a different one. This one's once again at a slightly different perspective, more of a 3/4. You see a bit more of the eye in there. I didn't draw any teeth yet because I thought this was too similar to one of the other ones I drew. This is another one, right? So if I wanted to see more of like the dragon head flying upwards, I sketch this one out. Or we can have it coming almost straight down. That could work well. We could go at the side, but that might not be quite as dynamic as we're looking for unless we really zoomed in on it. But I always like dragons to either be flying up or to the side. But depending on, how you want them to fly, you're going to draw your head differently. That was just a rough sketch. Here's another one I sketched out. This one's definitely more at a 3/4 side profile. So I can go through and take dragon heads at different angles, copy copy the final layer that I draw on them, just like I did with this guy. And I've got all of these different sketch layers. So you can kind of see how I built it up. Started out with like a little bit of a wireframe, started to add some whiskers, started to get some rough shape in there, a little bit more rough shape with a little bit of value. Now I'm going to go through and refine that a little bit more. Now I'm going to make that a little bit darker so that I can get really the true outlines that I wanted to have on there. Boom, that one's done. Once again, keeping it rough because I don't know what direction I'm heading in. So I'm going to keep everything pretty rough until I have like a solidified direction from the client to move in which case it's like, okay, cool. Now I know what direction to head in. Let's take off sprinting, right? I could even use this one with, I think I drew this in a couple of different pieces. Yeah, so I could even go through, mash these layers together, which I'll probably merge down anyway. And now I could go through, copy this, paste this into the other document, and now I can go through and sketch with this kind of a body shape. How would this one be moving? How would this be floating through space? I personally like it at more of an upwards 3/4 view, like 3/4 perspective, because once again, it kind of shows movement, and you've got a lot of these really nice diagonal lines that appear with this dragon head. But maybe that's not what the client's looking for. Maybe they want something a bit more stoic or a bit more, um, flying to the side view, where you see a little bit more of the underbelly of the dragon as it's flying at an angle. Uh, so I'm going to play around with it continuously until I get to the point that I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now I know what direction we're heading in. Oh, wrong document. That's the master image. There we go. So I'm going to continue playing around until I can get like a body shape or a body flow that I really am in love with. And then I'm going to send it to my client and say, hey, here's a concept that I found that I really, really like and I really want to do. What are your thoughts? And if they don't like it, that's cool. Save the concept. Next person that comes in that wants a dragon, boom, right there, done, drawn, set, line work's done. All you got to do is hit print and tattoo it. It's custom dragon, no one else has. There you go. It's an efficiency thing. I did that when I was at Hell City this year. I had someone that said that they really liked a painting that I did, a Japanese dragon or a Japanese inspired dragon. They were like, "Oh man, I'd really love to get that done." And I was like, "Well, I can't tattoo that exact image on you because it's a print that I made, and I know 1,000 other people out there that bought the print are going to have it and get it tattooed." So I was like, "Well, I can't tattoo that one on you specifically, but we can definitely do something similar." And I went to my dragons folder and I said, "Hey, here's the initial concept sketch of that. It's a bit different, but it's going to work really, really well with the area you want to get tattooed." They were like, I'm sold. Sweet. Cool. Sat down, ran the stencil, slapped it on them, and tattooed it. Didn't have to draw anything because I had already put the time into drawing it. Right. So that's why I like to do a lot of these preparatory sketches and concept sketches. Um, and I'll sit down in a day and I'll just draw nothing but dragon heads. And then I'll draw nothing but dragon arms and claws and all that stuff. And I try to do that regularly to get better at it. Same thing with reapers. I'll sit down and I'll draw reapers for an entire day. Maybe it's just sickles and scythes. Maybe it's hourglasses. Maybe it's lanterns. Maybe it's skulls. And I have a backstock of all of those things, right? Because I find them very interesting and very difficult to draw. So I'm going to go through and draw as many as I can. And the only thing that that's going to do is give me more ammunition for when someone comes in and says, hey, I really like this. I want to get something like this tattooed. Or if someone sees something in my portfolio and they're like, man, I really love that Space Reaper you did. It's like, cool. But guess what? I can't tattoo that one on you because I already tattooed that on someone. But I have other Space Reapers if you're interested. Now I don't have to draw anything, right? So it's all about efficiency as far as that's concerned and communicating effectively with your client, asking them questions, finding out what it is they're exactly looking for. The more questions you ask, the more clear of an idea I'm going to have and the happier you will be if you're my client in the end because I'm asking you the questions and I'm getting the information from you and I'm going through it and I'm building this project with you, right? Because I can't read your mind. I don't have, I might have a lot of skills and abilities. I cannot read minds. I can't. So I've had to get really good at effective communication. And that's one thing I can't stress enough. Communicate with your clients. Even down to, someone walking in and say it's a walk-in. Hey, I want to get a lily tattooed. Cool. What kind of lily? Right? Because there's a whole bunch of different species of lily out there. And I've wasted plenty of time and plenty of hours drawing lilies that weren't the right type of lily before. And that's all because I didn't ask the right questions. So take some time, talk to your clients, ask some questions. If they're giving you free reign, sweet. Come up with something that you really like and you really want to do. Awesome. My client at Hell City that got the lantern tattoo. I tattooed the side of his head with a lantern and some green glowing flames, the purple rose in the middle of it. He's like, "Yeah, I love your work. Just come up with something." Cool, done. The only things he said was that he wanted a lantern and a purple rose in the middle of it. And I absolutely love doing that tattoo because I came up with it. It was awesome. They loved it. They knew how it was going to look. It was awesome. And they didn't have to, there was no back and forth. They gave me that option to go through and create what I wanted to. Doesn't happen all the time, but when it happens, it's a wonderful thing and you have to be prepared for it. So, once again, back if I was drawing this dragon, I don't want it to be too bunched. Anyone that's caught this show before knows I have a tendency to go on tangents, so I apologize for that. Maybe I want to move the head of the dragon over a bit more to somewhere like here. That'll give me a little bit more room for the body. Still a little too bunched. I'd like to spread that out a little bit, although that does work well for what I'm trying to achieve. Eh, no, no, it doesn't. And here's why I say that. Because this part of the body here and this part of the body here are too close. If that was further apart, I think I'd be a bit more happy with it. And I'll show you what I like to do in instances like this. So say you get part of it that looks nice, but part of it that doesn't. Bring your opacity down about halfway, create a new layer using the same brush, and try to trace over it and make that minor adjustment that you might want to make. And now that I've got this tiny little gap in here, and I know that, yeah, it could still probably be a little bit further apart. Now I'm going to go through and do it again until it's exactly what I'm looking for. There's nothing that says that you can't keep parts of it and redraw other parts of it. Just don't get too hung up on any one given area, because I've done that and it just prolongs the whole process. Just some food for thought. Too many tight turns. Oh, I mentioned the formula for dynamic body compositions for dragons and snakes earlier. It's tight, loose, tight, loose, tight, loose. You get a tight turn, right? And now you've got a loose area. And now you've got a tight turn and a loose area. Although that was kind of tight. So tight, loose, tight, loose. And now it's going to flow a lot better. Tight, loose, tight, loose. Technically, that's two tights, but tight, loose, tight, loose. Still too much. But that's why you play around with it, right? I'm going to play around with this until I'm happy with it, and then I'm going to present this as a sketch, because this dragon is definitely moving in an upwards motion. Might be a little bit more coiled, but if we look at this from the perspective of if we have this part of the body coming around with the head being the foremost area, this would be traveling back and overlapping this portion of the body down here. This portion of the body would be forcing it back even further. So imagine everything is coming from the background forwards, right? Everything is moving forwards in space and upwards at this angle. So I'm going to go through this part of the belly would overlap and come down. And then this part of the belly would overlap, and then this would come down. The spine would be moving backwards. This would be underbelly, kind of curving down and around. So now you've got a better idea of, okay, well, if this is underbelly, maybe we'll have the spine of the dragon moving in this direction. Creating that nice little ridge right there. You'd have a little bit of underbelly here, but that would disappear. This would be underbelly, this would be underbelly. So we can really start to see how it would overlap. And once again, when you've drawn enough dragons and snakes and you know visually in your mind where you want that center line to be and how it's going to look as it layers upon itself, it can really take on a different look. For example, if I wanted to really play around with, like, say, this part here and push that backwards even further, what I would actually do is overlap this. And now I have the belly, now I have the body of the dragon kind of doing one of these guys where it comes up and it curls back on itself. It's like, oh, wait, no, I do want to head in that direction. Oh, yeah. Right? So it's coming around and then coming back over. So it's layering itself. Right? So if I really wanted to push this area back further, have this piece coming forward and then this piece coming forward, and that's going to visually push this area back even further. So it's just another little trick on how you can play with space and depth and dimension. But the important thing is to communicate with your clients. And if they're not very good at communication, if they're not very good at getting back to you, don't waste your time. You've reached out to them a couple of times asking for more input, information, whatever. Ball's in their court now. They want to get tattooed, they will communicate with you. Do not beg people for your time or for their time. Their time's valuable. And at a point, you're probably just going to end up annoying them. And that's not going to be good because now they're going to think of you as the annoying tattoo artist that's desperate for their business. And that's not good for anyone. So say, hey, listen, I sent you a few texts or a couple of emails. I was waiting to hear back from you. Didn't hear back from you. So whenever you get back to me, let me know. But until then, if you don't get back to me before the appointment time, well, that's not my fault. Sorry. Creatures Cave, thank you for tuning in. As always, have a great week yourself. Take care and let me know how everything heals up for you. There's no doubt it should heal up fine. I got to tattoo Creature when I was at Hell City this year. It was a big honor, and thank you very much for the lovely gift. Really appreciate that. And that's probably going to wrap things up for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, for watching today, for watching this episode. If you're not watching today, obviously, really appreciate everyone tuned in. It really keeps me going. Thank you very much for everything. All of you and everything. And thank you guys very much. Until next week, everyone, take care, be safe, those hands moving. And if anyone ever wants to reach out to me and, maybe look feedback or comments, you can always hit me up on Instagram right here, Philly Inc. on Instagram, or you can email me Jason at reinventingtattoo.com. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been an honor as always. Really appreciate it. Take care. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next Monday.